The City of Phoenix holds community budget hearings throughout April, allowing residents to comment and make suggestions on the city manager's trial budget before final decisions are made. This public discussion is among the reasons the city's budget so closely matches the community's highest priorities each fiscal year.
My name is Paul Blue, and I'm a Deputy City Manager for the City of Phoenix. And if you're not here for a budget hearing, then you're on the wrong, you're in the wrong meeting. But if you are, we're really glad you're here. As I'm sure you know, each year the City Manager presents to the City Council a trial budget. And actually, I have missed one element that I need to introduce Judy first. Judy, why don't you please go ahead.
Buenas tardes, me llamo Judy. Si alguien necesita intérprete, tengo el equipo en la mesa de atrás. Gracias.
And so we come out after the City Manager presents his trial budget to the City Council to come and spend a couple of weeks talking with the community, getting your feedback to present to the Mayor and Council so they can tell the City Manager how they would like to see the budget, his proposed budget adjusted. And I will tell you, every year, the feedback that comes from these meetings has an influence on what happens in the city budget. So being here is important. We appreciate you being here. To give you kind of a little bit of a order of what's going to happen, just in a moment I'm going to have Vice Mayor Daniel Valenzuela give you a few words, and then we're going to have a presentation that's going to give you about 15 minutes or so of background on the budget, and then we have comment cards, which if you didn't fill one out, are back on the table when you enter. We'll work our way through those cards and look forward to hearing your feedback. If you have a question but you didn't want to speak, you can leave a card in that fashion. I also want to acknowledge Councilman Michael Nowakowski and Councilwoman Laura Pastor, are here. And so before we start our presentation, I guess I will start to my right. Councilman, if you would like to say a few words before we get rolling.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank everyone for being here. It's so important that we get input from the community, and thank you for taking the time and caring about your community. Is this the bilingual one, or? Yes, it is. Pues quiero dar las gracias a cada uno de ustedes que hablan español y que vinieron a esta junta. Creo que es muy importante que cada uno de ustedes nos dan la información de sus áreas y las necesidades de su comunidad también. Gracias.
So thank you for being here. I've seen some of you last night. It's good to see you again. Welcome. You will see that our budget is balanced. But to really start talking about, I would really start the dialogue for 16-17, and what does that look like, and how do we look at things as we place things in priority. I know that that's not what the budget meeting is here for tonight, but those are the dialogues that I would like to start now in the future. So possibly with my colleagues' support, we could ask the city manager to start beginning those conversations. So welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Everyone doing well tonight? All right, this is awesome. This is the bilingual budget hearing right here in Maryvale. Now, I'm proud to say that we were all in Phoenix District 5, but for those of you who live and work in Maryvale, you know that Maryvale touches 3 council districts. It's a very special place, and so it's not only District 5, but District 7 and District 4. So this is a great joint meeting. You have a captured audience right here with our Phoenix City Council. Glad that we have Paul Blue here, who's our Deputy City Manager. We also have our Budget Director, Mario Paniagua. We have several city employees here, so thank you all for being here tonight. We also have Chief Faulkner from the Phoenix Fire Department, and our new police commander, Commander Connolly from the Maryvale Precinct, who is also here. Several neighborhood leaders. So this is a really great event, and I make those announcements for the benefit of those who will be watching this meeting also. This meeting is going to be archived, so we can go and tell our neighbors to go ahead and go online, phoenix.gov, and click on the budget hearing for this particular area and listen to the conversation. Of course, email any one of the council members and the mayor. The mayor's office is also present, by the way, with your thoughts and concerns. Now remember, Paul just mentioned it. This is a trial budget. So for those of you who've been here, raise your hand if you've been to one of these budget hearings before. Okay, so the trial budget is always different than the budget that is adopted at the end, and that is a good thing. Okay, the trial budget is what the city manager is putting forth, given the numbers and the need. He's taking his best crack at it, right? And then, we send this out to the public, which that's what this is all about, and it gives you a chance to help shape and mold where you think this budget needs to be. Where should we put the funds? Should it be in our library? Should it be in streets? I'll tell you something that we have worked very hard in doing, but certainly personally, a mission that I've really have been on, it's taken me to DC and back several times, was the need for more first responders. And finally, you will see that in this budget, we have we're scheduled to hire 110 police officers and 90 firefighters. And those numbers will continue moving forward. Very, very positive. Frankly, it's not enough as far as I'm concerned, but it's much, much different than what we've experienced in the last few years. So lots and lots of great items in this budget. But, I guess you could be the judge of that. And you can let us know your thoughts on where else we need to be focused. Okay? So that said, I know I'm going to hand it over to Paul, and he'll get us kicked off. Thanks.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you, Councilman Nowakowski and Councilwoman Pastor. So with no further delay, we'll run the presentation, and then we will follow that with questions and answers, in particular your comments. So thank you very much.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to one of a dozen hearings on the City Manager's 2015-16 trial budget. Input from our residents is so important and helps shape what will end up being the final budget for the next fiscal year. The final budget is important because it provides the plan for how the city will spend taxpayer money and how services that you depend on could be impacted.
I'm really pleased with this trial budget because it represents a year of really hard work. Leadership by the mayor and council to make some tough decisions, our employees who took concessions and who've worked hard to save money, and our partnership with our residents to bring a balanced budget for 2015-16.
Why is a balanced budget important? It's required by state law and city charter. In this budget, there will be no cuts to the city services that you count on every day.
I think it's important with this budget to know that we brought it into balance without cutting any services, and we can actually add some very important things for the community.
Even with state fiscal actions negatively impacting Phoenix costs and revenue, and with the sunset of the emergency sales tax on food on March 31st, the budget is balanced and important additions are being made thanks to the hard work of everyone.
The funding for the city budget comes from different sources. It's not all coming from one place, and it's divided into three main areas: the general fund, enterprise funds, and special revenue funds.
Examples of general fund city departments include police, fire, the library, parks and recreation, and streets. Enterprise fund departments include aviation, water services, solid waste services, and the convention center. Special revenue funds account for designated sources of money for a specific purpose, like sales tax dollars for the hiring of police officers and firefighters and funds for public transit.
So when you look at all of those areas together, that's really the diverse mix of all the things that makes up our city budget.
The mayor and city council took action early on, leading us to a balanced budget. That includes eliminating 162 full-time general fund vacant positions last December. For a second year, additional employee compensation concessions at just under 1%. And over the last several years, the city has eliminated nearly 100 management positions and cut overtime costs by more than 50%. The efficiency efforts by city staff have been remarkable. The city is less than $2 million away from reaching its 2015 savings goal of $100 million over the past 5 years. The mayor and city council have also led reforms of the civilian pension system. In total, we can expect to see a savings of around $830 million over 2 decades, thanks to the actions already taken by the mayor and city council, along with the city pension board and voters. This will have a positive long-term impact on the budget, although there is still more work to be done. In addition, the zero-based budget review process, looking at every program, has led to $1.2 million in savings for 2015-16. Every line item in the budget was scrutinized, which allows the city to find ways to save. Among the savings, $600,000 by closing 2 courtrooms where the number of cases has dropped considerably. $225,000 saved in the finance department by relying more on technology and reducing postage costs for mailing monthly statements. $200,000 in street transportation by analyzing signage and determining which road signs are unnecessary to install, maintain, or produce. These are just a few of many ways that staff has found to improve efficiency. To see the full list of savings, check out the budget summary packet provided at these budget hearings and is also available on phoenix.gov. One of the biggest challenges the city faces this year has to do with what's happening at the state level. In an effort to balance its budget, the state has shifted costs and reduced revenue to cities like Phoenix. That has led to a $6.3 million negative impact on the city, which in turn eliminated a $4.3 million surplus, which would have been used to address important city needs. This created a $2 million deficit. To balance it out, here's what the trial budget suggests. Holding off on replacing some older city vehicles and equipment, along with slowing the growth of the city's contingency fund, which is still at its highest level in city history. Here's a look at the new services proposed in the trial budget. First, let's look at the general fund. The budget adds $14,000 for implementing full-time recreation at the county-provided Kofelt Rec Center. It's located at 19th Avenue in Buckeye. That means the existing rec center will be filled with kids year-round. In the area of innovation, the budget adds a business analyst to begin preparations for Phoenix 311, which would provide a centralized information center, as well as identifying technology needed to implement a unified municipal services card. And many residents feel that protecting the public should be the city's top priority. That's why public safety amounts to 71% of the general fund in this trial budget. This budget adds an additional $2 million for 40 hours of police officer training for every officer. Now to dedicated public safety special revenue funds. Due to the fact that these funds will be balanced next year, the budget includes the hiring of 110 police officers in 2015-16, which will increase the size of the police force from where it is today. The council also approved a plan to hire 90 firefighters next fiscal year after hiring approximately 75 this year. Now let's look at dedicated Phoenix Parks and Preserves Initiatives funds. Those funds would provide maintenance for 3 new desert preserve trailheads, creating more opportunities for residents to enjoy our preserved trails. From the Development Services Funds, which is paid for by building permit and inspection fees, is this proposal, making for a better customer experience in planning and development services with improved technology and training and more staff to enhance the electronic plan review section and the front counter service. Now to dedicated transit funds. The light rail is seeing more riders now than ever before. The proposed budget would fund rail operations for the new Northwest extension to 19th Avenue and Dunlap. Out of dedicated aviation enterprise funds comes an important improvement at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. It's one of the 10 busiest in the nation. The trial budget calls for the addition of a dedicated team at the airport to analyze noise impacts of flight activity, assess any proposed changes by the FAA, and to reach out to the community to solicit feedback and exchange information. Out of the Solid Waste Special Enterprise Funds, the trial budget calls for operating a composting facility which will divert several tons of green waste per week from the landfill. That facility is scheduled to open next year. But the list of community needs continues. Among them, police body cameras, addressing homelessness, restoring library hours, after-school programs, support for arts programs, park maintenance, and street maintenance and street landscaping. Any budget requires trade-offs, and street landscaping is an example of that. It is important to keep our city beautiful and safe by making sure trees and shrubs along the roadways are maintained. Right now, that happens when residents make a report, but that could soon change. The council will soon vote on whether to bid for the service, which means the roadways would be regularly maintained 3 times a year. Although funding is not currently available to increase this service, the Transportation and Infrastructure Subcommittee is evaluating additional options which would increase the frequency of street landscaping service with added costs estimated to range from $1.5 to $6 million. Additional funding sources would need to be identified.
So the 2015-16 trial budget is really good news. We balanced the budget with no cuts to services, and in fact, we've added some things that are important to the community. But we always want to be looking ahead, and so we have a 5-year plan. We forecast ahead, and we see that we have some issues to deal with after this year.
One of the biggest challenges to the general fund, public safety pension costs. Much work has been done on the civilian side, controlled by the city, but the state-controlled system still faces challenges. This trial budget assumes phasing in added public safety pension costs over the next 3 years, allowing city services to be preserved. Also, revenue growth will be affected by actions taken by the state on income and sales taxes. The city is planning ahead on both of these issues and will work hard to address them over the next 12 months. Keep in mind, the budget hasn't been adopted just yet. Your input is important, and the City of Phoenix wants to hear from you on what the upcoming budget should look like. 12 public hearings will take place this month across all council districts, and you are encouraged to attend. You can also send your comments or questions to budget.research@phoenix.gov, or to reach out to us by phone, call 602-262-4800. You can also comment on social media by using #PhoenixBudget. Thank you for being part of a very important process. The City of Phoenix is committed to its mission of improving the quality of life in Phoenix through the efficient delivery of outstanding public services.
Okay, thank you very much. And so we will move to the cards now. And as I said earlier, if you came in before I spoke or after I spoke, if you wish to speak, if you just please check at the table and fill out a comment card. And it helps us keep a record of who we've been speaking with, and if we have any issues, we need to get back with you. So hearing none, I'll move to the first card, Mr. Walt Gray.
Thank you, Paul, Councilman and Councilwoman. Good to see you here. I was at the, I'm a community activist in West Phoenix. I was at the District 4 budget hearing yesterday with Councilwoman Pastor. I have the same presentation, you know, the same things to say. Basically, I want to say it just a little differently. I think it'd also be good for Councilwoman Pastor and the other councilmen to talk about what we face next year, because that will influence. But basically what I hear to say is I think while the budget is balanced, I believe there's an opportunity to increase revenue by increasing innovation. The city has increased innovation by $98 million over the past 4 years. The goal is $100 million, just $2 million away. But I think the city can do better than $2 million. I think it's demonstrated that. It's averaged $24 million over the past 4 years. And I think the city could do another $6 to $8 million in innovation. And that would only be 20 to 33% of what they've accomplished in each year in the past 4 years. So it's less than half of what they've accomplished each of the past 4 years. And that would allow a lot of money, you know, not a lot of money, but it's a significant amount of money that could be used for a number of projects that have been listed last night at at Councilwoman Pastor's public hearing, and I'm sure we'll hear some tonight. And I personally support what the city manager has listed in his trial budget about some of the community needs, like the PAC programs. We once had 80, we now have 44. I think we could use more of those. The summer youth program, we once spent $800,000 on summer youth program. We're now spending $250,000 on a summer youth program. I think that could be increased. I think homelessness, with the problems that they're having with the shelters, probably needs some money. But I also feel there's some need for things that the city manager has not yet mentioned. One would be a staff member in the Economic Development Department to help recruit manufacturing, green, health, and those types of jobs, emerging jobs, for the industries and the businesses to come to the west side or to any other low-income part, where we could take adult workers and with some workforce development training, increase them above the entry-level jobs they're now doing away from the west side, and now they could do those jobs, better jobs, on the west side and be closer to home and save infrastructure. I also believe that we should consider, and I think Councilwoman Pastor last night commented on this, consider with the city has a new effort for women to upgrade women in city government, particularly as a demonstration for the private sector in the valley. And but I think we should start with the women and the men who do the menial jobs in city government, the cleaning the restrooms, cleaning the offices, and doing some of the menial work, not only around City Hall, but maybe in other places of city government. So I think those two things are suggestions that I make. I think also last night the city manager mentioned that you know, training is provided by the Maricopa Corporate College, and which is part of the community college system. And the city already works with the corporate college, so I think that could be done with those in the very low jobs in city government. And with that, I'll conclude and say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Any comments from the council? Okay. Vicky Jaquez, I apologize if I got that wrong.
Hi,
No worries.
good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Vicky Jaquez, and I'm a community leader for the West Side. I'm out of Tomahawk Village. And I commend you for thinking about the police, but we do still need a lot more. I have been going to a lot of things at with the police department, and I believe that they really need, I've seen some of the stuff that they go through, as well as the fire department, that it's very important that we continue with that. As far as Parks and Recreation, I know you added some to this Lamoureux Recreation Center, but we have El Oso Park off of 75th Avenue that was renovated. But there's no programs there. There's nobody there to provide programs to the children there. And that park is in between a middle school and also a high school. So we need to bring more programs to there. The other thing is on neighborhood services. We are asked, a lot of us as volunteers, to beautify our neighborhoods. However, there's not enough people to bring out and implement and enforce these things that we're asking. I know that there are a lot, especially in the evening, there's a lot of services. There's a lot of people out selling things. There's no taxes that are being paid there. They're providing these services, parking in lots. There's a lot of people that are now congregating in those. And I believe that that should be something that we need to really enforce. I understand the economy, but we also need to look at the city services. And the other thing is on planning and development. With our balanced budget, now there's a lot of people that are coming out and they're working. They're rebuilding and fixing up their homes. But who's coming out to check these buildings? Nobody is. And that's what's causing these house fires, just because of the electricity that happens. So thank you so much. And if you could do more for the police department, housing, the planning and development, we would really appreciate it. And thank you so much as far as the transit. I take the rapid every day, all the way to downtown Phoenix. Love it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Vicki. John Walker.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my comments. I've already spoken at some hearings with some of the council folks here, so I apologize if it gets a little repetitious, but it's an important message, I think. My name is John Walker. I'm here on behalf of the Phoenix spokespeople. We're a bicycling advocacy organization. We have over 1,500 supporters, and I know that there's individuals living in all districts in Phoenix. I'm a longtime Phoenix resident. Also, I've lived in Phoenix for almost 25 years. I think Phoenix can really use a lot more good bike infrastructure. Phoenix really does need transportation solutions. We just heard about the Rapid, and that's a great tool to help individuals, give individuals other options other than single occupancy vehicles. Light rail has also been a great success. Grid bikes has been fantastic. But another, I think, very underused aspect of transportation in Phoenix is bicycle infrastructure. And if we look around at cities that have attempted to solve their transportation issues with single occupancy cars, it fails miserably. It results in sprawl and pollution, and I don't think any of us want that. And without change, Phoenix could end up more like this, and I think unfortunately to a certain degree there is that characterization of Phoenix, which I hope we can change. But the bike infrastructure has to come first. The cyclists will not go out on the street until they feel safe. There is a small number of dedicated bike commuters that will, but there is a huge segment of the population that wants to ride their bikes, not be stuck in the car, but they want to feel safe, and that's something that's very fair. Countries today and cities today that are models for bike infrastructure, where a large segment of people get around on bikes, it wasn't always like that. The Netherlands in the 60s and 70s were bulldozing things and building highways and roads, and they saw that wasn't working, and it was resulting in a lot of people getting hurt or injured. In fact, in Arizona, there's 2 to 3 people per day that die in traffic-related collisions. And if we can make the roads safer and take some cars off, that's a good thing. Millennials want to drive less. Individuals, people want to spend less time stuck in a car, more time on light rail or on a bike, something that's enjoyable. Urban living is becoming, I think, more desirable, and Phoenix can really exploit that and use that to its advantage to make itself a premium place to live as opposed to other places where you really only have the option of a vehicle. And when I mean bike infrastructure, I don't just mean bike lanes or sharrows or paint on the road. I think Phoenix for many years has gone in that direction, and one of the many refrains that I hear is that, well, we have 700 miles of bike lanes, and that's a great start, but bike lanes are not going to make people comfortable to ride on them, and that's just the simple truth. We need protected bike lanes. We need a physical barrier that separates the cyclist from the car, and that's when people start to feel comfortable riding a bike. And I say 8 to 88 to feel safe, and that means someone as young as 8 or as old as 88 should feel safe riding their bicycle. And if you're just putting a bike lane there next to a road where the speed limit is 35, but because of lack of enforcement, because we haven't been giving enough money for police officers, people are driving 50 or 55, that's a huge problem. And you can't really expect anyone to feel safe doing that, and they're not going to want to. And I ask you to ask yourselves, when you see a road, ask yourselves, would you feel comfortable allowing my child or my grandchild to ride their bicycle on this road? And if the answer is no, we need more bike infrastructure. What I'm asking the City Council to do is to dedicate $1.50 per resident per year solely for bike infrastructure. And that's about $2.25 million. And that's a very, very small fraction of the budget. Other cities spend $4 plus per person per year, if not even more. So this is a very small beginning. Mr. Zerker did point out that there is $24.5 million over 5 years allocated for bicycle infrastructure. I've inquired into the city as to exactly what that falls into, because my concern is a huge chunk of that are simply new roads being constructed with bike lanes on them in the peripheries of Phoenix, and that's just not going to cut it. We need visible, protected bike lanes on Central, on 3rd Street, on 3rd Ave, on Jefferson and Washington. If you see those streets, there's 5, 6 lanes. They're never full. And if you could put a bike lane there, have a lot more people riding their bikes there and feeling safe, and that would send a message. So I hope that Phoenix moves in that direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. And I'm going to ask staff from our budget department, we have your card to get back so you don't have to go find the information. We'll tell you how the $24 million is programmed in the capital improvement program budget that the City Council will be hearing later in the budget season before the end of the fiscal year. But we'll share with you directly what information we have. Okay. Bill, I'm going to probably skewer your name here. Well, Bill, here you are. Welcome. And
Thank
hopefully
you.
you'll since I can't quite read your writing, you'll tell me what your last name is.
McComas.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. I've been a resident of Phoenix for about 18 years, the last 6 years in District 4. I'm also with Phoenix spokespeople, and I just want to compliment some of the things my colleague here, John, has said. Bicycle infrastructure, I think, is very important for the health of a city, especially a city that wants to attract new talent. The mayor has said being multimodal, having light rail, walkable, bike-friendly cities are the key to attracting new businesses and employees. And I think that's been proven countless times in other cities in the country and other big cities in Europe and other parts of the world. Not only is it attract these businesses and the employees, but also gives us a healthier city, a more connected city. I know one that rides my bike to work every day. I see the lady who walks her dog every day and I wave. I see people, talk to people I wouldn't talk to when I drove my car every day. We're a good city. We're flat. We have great weather 9 months a year. These are things we should have to be a world-class city. We say we're the 5th or the 6th largest city. We should be in that first class of those cities like that as well. Grid bike has been, I think, a great addition. I'm noticing every day I see more and more people riding them. As John said, having the infrastructure there will get the people out. The people that are scared or uncomfortable aren't going to come until the infrastructure is there. So we're asking to dedicate these things for that. Last year, the City Council approved the bicycle master plan. We asked that you implement the master plan, as it was approved or as it can be improved. One other thing the mayor said during the grid bike ribbon cutting, is we just got bronze status from the League of American Bicyclists. And I'm going to quote him here. I watched the video today. Bronze ain't good enough. We like bronze, but platinum's even better. The City Council adopted the Bicycle Master Plan that over the next 2 years will give us the platinum level as a bike-friendly city. I could not be more excited about this. We are headed in the right direction. And we are headed in the right direction, but we've taken very small steps. A lot of these steps have become from the advocacy side and from the bike share side on the private sector. We really need the public sector and the city to step up to make these next steps to get us to silver, to get us to gold, and eventually to the mayor and the council's goal of being a platinum-friendly city. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And as a card-carrying grid member, I agree. It is a wonderful asset and benefit to the community.
Thank you.
Suzanne Day.
Hello, thank you for your time. Thank you for asking our opinion. My name is Suzanne Day. I live in District 1, so I'm a little bit further out than some folks, but I grew up in Maryvale and I've lived in Phoenix all my life. I echo the sentiments of my fellow Phoenix spokespeople members. I won't keep you here saying the same thing that my friends have said, but I also support about $1.50 per capita per year for bicycle infrastructure. I've done my homework, and I do believe that that's on the low side compared to other cities, but it's a good start. It's really an excellent start. I would remind you also that we do have an approved bicycle master plan, and I would encourage you to implement that as rapidly as you are able. I wanted to also point out that I'm a big fan of public transit. I know that we are going to the voters, I believe this summer, to try to find some additional funding for public transit. I'm very supportive of that. And I would encourage each of you to begin to think of bike share as an arm of public transit. I understand the city of Chicago considers their bike share to be part of their public transit because it really is an excellent last mile solution. I too ride the rapid bus into downtown, and I use the grid to get around downtown because once I'm down there, it's quicker, easier, and more fun than taking a bus. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Rex Gulbranson.
Good evening, council members and Mr. Blue. I'm Rex Gulbranson. I live in District 4, and I'm a member of the Phoenix Arts and Culture Commission. I'm here to speak in behalf of the city's Arts and Culture program this evening. First of all, I would like to thank you for your past support of arts and culture throughout the city. It is very much appreciated, and as a result of your support, there are arts programs and activities going on in all council districts all the time. I currently chair the city's Arts and Culture Grants program, and the primary purpose of this program is to provide partial funding for arts programs citywide. The goals of the program are to expand the availability of arts and culture activities citywide, to champion and promote cultural diversity, and to foster support for artists representing all cultural traditions. Citywide, there are 160 nonprofit arts and culture organizations. The Office of Arts and Culture currently can provide partial funding support for only 55 of these organizations. It is our hope that when the city's budget situation allows, that the funding for this program could be increased to $1 per capita. And when that happens, that will triple the size of the Arts Grants program. In addition to the grants program, other programs and services offered by the Office of Arts and Culture include public art, which continues to produce beautiful and award-winning artworks for public facilities each year throughout the city. And Arts Learning is the other program, which formerly was called the Arts Education Program. Their current initiative that they're working on is called Arts Build, and through it, they're working on a series of community workshops for residents of all ages. Lastly, I brought fact sheets for the council members this evening to show the activity that's happening citywide, and it's broken down by district by district. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rex. Mr. Al DiPascal.
Thank you, Council and Paul. And my name is Al DiPascal. I'm a community activist here in Maryvale area. Grew up here, lived here for over 58 years. Grew up right here in this area, and I'm very proud of the Maryvale area and what we've accomplished. But we are in need of more. I do support with the police and work hard with them to achieve the goals that we need to do to reduce crime in this area. We've accomplished that goal. That doesn't mean that we are going to steadfast and stay at that level. Violent crime has increased to 8% across the city, and crime is down across the city in other areas. I do back with the Phoenix Police Department that we hire 110 more officers, but that still means that we're still going to be down more officers in the coming years because of officers retiring. And we need to increase that, but we need to increase that with the level of the chief there and his staff on an needed basis, because if crime continues to reduce and we hire so many officers, then what my outlook is, what do we do with all the officers if crime is continuously going down? We need to get to a level where it's capable to manage, and then put them on as an on-needed basis. That would be more realistic than throwing millions and millions of dollars at that. And I know a lot of people say we need more officers. I know we do, but if crime continues to go down, then my outlook is what are they going to be doing if we do hire so many officers? The other thing is in the Parks and Recreation Department. I run an after-school program over at the Sueño Park, and I see you're adding only $14,000 to Cofelt. They just built a project over there for the recreation center, but we've been depleted for over almost 2 years now. We have no lights. Infrastructure is terribly across the city on all these old parks, all these old swimming pools. This swimming pool here, I was a field superintendent on this pool 34 years ago, is when we put these stainless steel gutters on this swimming pool, and over at Roosevelt Pool too in South Phoenix. But to be able to have an after-school program, I need lights for kids to be able to be out there doing something in the parks, because the parents won't send them after 7 o'clock when it gets dark. We have little basketball lights now, and we were servicing anywhere between 54 and 60 kids. We're down to only 10 and 12 now because the parents won't send them, and then we're outdoors. We have a depleted baseball bleachers that we sit them on, and a tables and a storage shed that we do that. I spent a lot of my money out of my own pocket to service balls and soccer balls for them, and crayons, and for the city not to look at what goes on in the Maryvale or the Olso Park or over by Trevor Brown, some of the parks around here where we have programs. This is a gang-infested area. I don't want to see our kids lost to gangs on the streets, so we need to look at that even more so by infrastructure here in the city on the west side and all our old existing parks, instead of moving everything to Central Phoenix. And then the biggest thing is trust. One of the biggest things in the general funds in the last 5 years that I've been following is now the lack of trust of where this money actually goes, and how it depletes from this side, to this program, to that program. We need to be more realistic in where that money goes, because one of the things I really back is our senior centers, because the seniors have really done their job by retiring, served their city very well, paid their taxes, and to cut their programs and to live in their golden age years where they raise their rates for cost of living and stuff like that. They're on fixed income, so we need to look at the elderly and keep them in good standings to let them know that the city cares more about them than all these other programs, you know, because they did pay their dues, they did pay their taxes. And I thank you for.
Thank you, Al, very much. Is there Inger? Are you still here from Park staff? Al, we will get back to you because I'd like to make sure that we follow up on some of your specific experiences in some specific locations where you have some concerns. So So they do have work in the capital budget, which we're talking about tonight, the operating budget, but those are great comments nonetheless. We take them and we appreciate them. Ms. Evelyn Shapiro?
Good evening, and thank you for being here tonight, all of you. I'm here tonight for some very important things. First, I just got back from Nashville, Tennessee. I was there for the National School Boards Association. As you all know, I'm a school board member for Isaac School District. Also, one of your own council people was at that conference at the same time. Most important thing, you know, we're done the budget, you're saying we're okay. But you're not looking at the future of our children. Music, arts, and you're saying the math. Kids can't do math. Well, when you look at music, quarter notes, half notes, all of those add up. They have to learn how to do math. They have to learn how to write. The different things, and we're not looking after these kids for after-school programs. They're wanting to close them down. Don't let that happen. Our most important thing, you and I are already grown. These kids are our future. These kids are the ones that are going to run the city later on, but only if we give them the right tools to work with now. And it's very important that we work on that. Secondly, you just went and voted on and said, okay, now all the tickets in the world, $15. That's all you're going to pay if you get a ticket, $15. Well, wait a minute. Are we encouraging our police department to arrest somebody for speeding and only have to pay a $15 bill? What's the use of the police doing it? The object of having the punishment is to make sure that they don't do it again. And we're saying, oh, no, now it's only $15. You can handle that quickly. I got one more thing before you hit me.
Yes, ma'am, only because I wanted to provide you some information
Okay.
about that, but that's great.
Then the other one is when you're looking at the courts, you're looking after the after-school programs, then you got one more thing that you've got to look at, and that is our communities. You had Vicki talk to you a little bit ago about helping out and looking after our communities. As Block Watch people, the presidents of our organizations, we try very hard to make sure our Block Watches are taken care of. And what are you doing? You're cutting them now. You're saying the funds are not there, so you can't have the full amount that you're wanting to take care of it. Your streets. Look at your streets. You drive down Thomas, drive down Camelback or Indian School. What do? Every block has almost a hole in it where you're hitting it and you're putting your tires out of alignment, everything else. Can't we do something with these here and look at it in our streets? We want to be the primary and the best city in the world, but yet we're cutting off the feet and the hands so that these people cannot do the jobs that they need to be doing. So I'm asking you to please go back and look at this. You're asking the police department, the fire department to do their jobs, but you're cutting them because people are retiring because they say they can't handle it anymore. Well, let's make it where it is one of the best jobs that everybody wants to do. And the only way you're going to do that is by looking at the overall funding. And everybody will be willing to put in that dollar or that penny extra that they're asking for now for transportation to do on there. Well, let's look at the things that are going to be vital to our whole community. And I, for one, want to see our community blossom and bloom better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shapiro, and appreciate your comments. I did want to note the issue related to fines is actually, I believe, being conducted by the state legislature, not by the Phoenix City Council. So we hear you. We disagree. Yes, ma'am. We hear you loud and clear. We absolutely take that. So that is at the end of our cards. Was there anybody else who is here who wanted to speak? Well, thank you. And not hearing any final comments from our elected officials?
First of all, I just really want to thank everyone for coming out, and especially all of our staff members for being here. We heard you loud and clear when it came to increasing the innovation of the city of Phoenix that Mr. Gray, you talked about, that we're at about $98 million, and that we can do better. And for next year, after Councilmember Pastor talked about looking at next year that we're going to be in a deficit, that we should probably do better at the city level and maybe increase our goal from 100 million to 200 million. So I heard you loud and clear on that. The need for the PAC program, after school programs, and how important those are for our kids, especially for the kids out here in the Maryvale area, that we need to continue and we need to increase it. That at one time they were at 80 after school programs, and now that we're down to about 44. The support for police and fire, that we need to continue that, but at the same time, not just support police and fire, but we need to support the other programs that support the police and fire, like the after-school programs, programs in our park. We need to look at parks like Oso Park to really develop some type of a program, youth center, community center, or something there, so that people can actually go and participate in. That we need more help with NSD, and that they're doing a great job, but they need more resources to go out there and to support our communities and build up safer neighborhoods. I also heard loud and clear about the good bike, that we need to create a good bike infrastructure, that we need to make sure that our bike routes are safe, that we're a bike-friendly city, that attracts businesses, that attracts people to live in our city, that the grid bikes are a great program, but we need to adapt it throughout the whole city, and that we really need to look at the bike share as a part of our public transportation also. Heard you loud and clear, and that the $1.50 per resident should go into some type of bike infrastructure. And also, I just want to really encourage people to go out there and vote for this transit initiative that we have, because we really have a portion of that, and it's going to be more than $1.50 if it actually passes. So all you bike supporters, that infrastructure is not just going for the outer, but it's also for the inner city streets and bike routes. The importance of our arts and culture programs, heard you loud and clear on that, and that we really need to continue our grant programs for that. A lot of organizations depend on our arts and culture grant programs, and if there's a way for us to increase that, that would really help out. And then basically we need more lights for our parks, our baseball, basketball, and our swimming pools in our city parks. That we need to create a safe environment where parents feel free to send their kids after dark to our parks where they feel safe. Also, we talked about the increase of gang activities, especially out here in the Maryvale area, and we need to create some type of programs to keep kids busy and away from all these gangs. And lastly, we heard about how important music, art, math, writing, and skills are, and that these after-school programs really help out those kids and give them that head start to really help them become those champions in school. And then the lack of of community involvement with our block. The community is very involved in block watch out here, but we're beginning to cut some of those programs. So we need to really support the block watches and all the great programs that we have to support our block watch community. So I want to really thank you for all these comments. These are so important for us. Like the Vice Mayor says, that we go back and we kind of modify this trial budget with all these different concerns that we have heard tonight and the other nights that we had these budget hearings. And once again, we really want to be good stewards of your tax dollars. And that's what these meetings are all about, is to show you a proposed budget and how can we actually spend your tax dollars wisely. So God bless you all, and thank you so much for coming out here and giving your input.
Yeah, no. No, Michael left some for me. He didn't kill the battery. No, thank you. I also want to thank everyone for coming out. You could be anywhere tonight. It's a beautiful evening. You could be anywhere you want, and you're here at the Maryvale Community Center advocating. And what I really appreciate is, you're advocating for more than just yourself. Everyone who spoke about someone else, spoke about kids in our community, spoke about, others who we want to attract with the infrastructure, bike infrastructure, of course, the need for public safety, and I always appreciate hearing that. Now, a couple of things that I want to mention, because this is not the perfect budget, and that's why we need your help. In this budget, yes, I mentioned it early on. It was, also mentioned in the video. It's mentioned in the actual trial budget. But the need for more police officers and the hire for more police officers, 110 police officers, 90 firefighters. Yes, we have first responders that are retiring, that will continue to retire. It's called attrition. But I have to tell you, those first responders are going to retire whether we have a plan to hire more or not. Those first responders are leaving. Hopefully with all of their health, because they deserve a healthy life after service. We are going to lose those first responders, and finally, we have something in a budget where we are hiring more. So that's always a positive sign. Moving in that direction in the next few years, the next several years, we can expect that in the budget. I truly believe that public safety is a #1 priority of any government. I'm not just saying that as a first responder myself. I'm saying that as someone who is from this community, who raised his family in this community. Someone who attracts, jobs to this community. I know it's on everyone's mind. It is a #1 priority of any government. It was mentioned, the transportation initiative that will be on the ballot in August. I, too, am fully supportive. Now, we have a public safety plan that is in place. Whether that transportation initiative passes or not, this plan is in place, okay? I support the transportation initiative because it moves us into this city of the future. I appreciate the fact that it's not just light rail, although I am a big fan of light rail. That's an economic development tool, an engine really, that is coming out west. In fact, the next 2 extensions are coming west. The one extension being worked on now is in District 5 also, on 19th Avenue. The next 2 coming out west, that's huge for us. But a third of that funding is for street repair, for these densely populated neighborhoods like our neighborhoods here in Maryvale with the potholes that was mentioned. So it's important to have. Plus, if it passes, in addition to this public safety plan, an additional 116 police officers will be hired because of that transportation initiative passing as well. So lots of great reasons to support it. The transparency that was mentioned, transparency is absolutely vital, and with at the direction of course, the mayor and council, with city staff, Look, I would argue that we have the most transparent budget in the country. That if you go to phoenix.gov, you can pretty much find whatever you want when it comes to where the money is, and transparency is part of the reason why these budget hearings are archived and are on video, and I would of course, can we get better? Yes, we absolutely can. So we have to continue to move in that direction. I really appreciate the Phoenix spokespeople who come out. A couple of years ago, a couple of budget hearings ago, there were some major wins that came out of the coordinated effort at these budget hearings. And I use that as an example. I too am a big fan of multimodal and really what that means. It's more than just the train, it's bus service, it's streets for our cars as well, but it's bike lanes, and let's not forget, walking is also a form of transportation. And do we have walking trails? Do we have shaded streets? Do we have, those kinds of things? So I really appreciate that, but I also talk about the Phoenix spokespeople because that's a great example of what we all need to do. And I know that this is the third budget hearing that I've been to. The first one was actually in Sunny Slope, and seeing some familiar faces of making sure that you were heard. The arts, for an example, major wins with the arts as well. We need to come out. This is our budget. It's your budget. These are your tax dollars, our tax dollars, and it's important that we have all of our fingerprints on this. So thank you for taking the time to come out. Thank you for advocating. Thank you so much for advocating for of course ourselves, yourself, but your neighbor. There's something special about that. Something special about our community, especially when that is done. So again, thank you for coming out. Before I give the microphone to my colleague to my left, for those who wish to come out, we have another budget hearing right here in District 5 on April 14th. That is next Tuesday at 6 p.m. at Via de Paz Elementary School, about 106th Avenue in Camelback. We should have a nice crowd out there as well. And while you're out there, check out Dust Devil Park, another nice park that we have here in District 5. And as always, you can reach me at my office, and I'll make the trip to come out and meet with you. And God bless.
I think they said it all for me. So what I would like to do is to thank the staff that's here this evening, listening to all the concerns, and recognize that they are here they are a part of our community, and they live within our community. And so under the budget constraints at times, they are there to help us with our community. So I want to thank and recognize the staff that's here and appreciate them being here. I also want to say that we need more revenue in every one of our departments. If it's starting with transportation, the streets, it's starting with the bike lanes and looking at that, and safety, it's starting with our public safety officers and our first responders, our firefighters, the arts, everywhere. And so really, in the next several months, I think we really need to start having a dialogue about 16-17 and what it really looks like, and what is that, where are budget cuts going to happen, and what are we going to do about them. So I'm just putting that out there so people can start thinking about this. What I do have to say is some of the grants in the arts area, 85% of all that work happens within the local community. And with the construction, even if the artist is out of state, all the everything that happens within the arts and the grants is 80% stays within our community, our local community. So that's something good to know. It's happening all across our districts, even though there's one district that needs, I will refrain from that. So it's great to see that. I also want to say, Walt, we had this conversation yesterday. that we have right now an online high school accreditation for those that were unable to receive their high school degree. And we are working towards that population to help them and assist them to get their education or their high school degree, and encourage them and empower them to continue on to go on to college. That is happening, so if you're interested, please let me know. Al, regarding crime, right now I know the chief and others within the department are looking at different crime reduction programs, precinct and citywide. So they are analyzing the data and realizing what needs to happen within the community. We are, as you heard, adding lighting to Sueño Park, but that doesn't mean that we stop there and other programs to there. Evelyn, you know I'm an education person, and it's all about our future and kids and the arts and music and opportunities. And so I really thank you for honoring that and talking about it. But ultimately, thank you for being engaged. It's all about your engagement and really being here and being a public servant, or really a servant leader within our community. And so thank you for that. And thank you for serving and volunteering, because you volunteer a lot of hours, and a lot of people don't realize how many hours we end up volunteering, and it ends up being a second or third job. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate everyone being here, and God bless.
Okay, we have one last card that came in, Suzanne Thrain. Suzanne, you have about 3 minutes, so thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity. I've just come from the graffiti task force meeting, and thank you very much. A couple of issues. There's never enough money to go around, and that we're all painfully aware of. But you just said something that was exactly one of the reasons I smiled when he said maybe he could get me in. We all know that the youth of our communities are our future. And some of you are still raising them, and some of you are sending them to college. Okay? And, but we aren't putting our money where we say, all of the kind of money that's needed where our mouths are. We can volunteer, we can work till we're blue, but until every park in the city of Phoenix that has youth around it has programs, and that is not a hit on Parks and Recreation Department, that is about funding. If they don't have enough money to hire people and to pay them to provide activity. We just had an interesting thing happen at a beautiful new park paid for, updating by 3PI money. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful gift to the community. On Sunday, Easter Sunday, the police had to come to restore order, because there are so many people on the weekends and holidays that want to use it. I mean, they put ladders in parkway and drivers' holes to try to hold spaces for their families, et cetera, et cetera. Got a little exciting out there, I'm told. Had a number of comments from residents who were there. That's great. Evenings, weekends, the park is full. And in afternoons, there are plenty of kids from high school who come. There are no programs. Brand new facility, no park in my neighborhood, 2,600 homes and 200 apartments. No park in my neighborhood, and there isn't one program funded by the Parks and Rec Department, funded by you, to see to it that children have programs to go to after school and in the evenings. If we don't have the best influence for those children, the teachers do their best all day, parents do their best in the evenings. Those who have the time, they're not just busy putting food on the table. I know, but you must fund parks. And If you cannot fund more police than what you've said, 55, 110, then please, please put out a plea to retirees. Please ask them to come, ask firefighters, ask first responders who have retired and have a passion about this wonderful city to come out and to volunteer. More money for police, more money for first responders, more money for the parks.
I have a question.
Yes, and what would I like to see taken off?
No. Did you write all your notes on your hand?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
I saw you looking
That
at your
comes
hand
from,
and I was like-
no, ma'am. That comes from many years of working in the community.
Okay.
Going to Science Museum and walking along with children who've never been to the Science Museum or any place besides a grocery store.
Suzanne, if I could
That's
ask you,
sinful.
if I could ask you a quick question, which park was the challenge for police? Do you know the park name?
I certainly do. El Oso on 75th Avenue, and their folks, some of their folks know about it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for your comments.
Money.
We hear you loud and clear. We look forward to your help. Thank you.
I know, I'm not going to quit till I've said this. You didn't ask me what could you take off. We don't need the new group to study the airport this year, and maybe not next year. You just did it.
Thank you so much, and thank you to you all. As the council member said, your comments are valuable. They'll influence the budget. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to be here. Have a great, safe evening.
You've been watching a community budget hearing held recently in Phoenix. For questions, comments, or ideas, please visit phoenix.gov or call 602-262-4800. You can also send feedback or videos through social media at #PhoenixBudget. This video can also be seen online at phoenix.gov/11 or youtube.com/City of Phoenix AZ.